Welcome to another Friday and another recording in progress where we're taking a little moment to take the progress that's going in all around us and make it into some nice bite-sized recordable bits so we can all progress. My name's Larry and with me is Jim. I wish Mario Maker was out already, Jesus. How's it going, Jim?
Still waiting for Mario Maker 2. Still waiting.
So
Any minute now.
when exactly do you get your first taste of the Mario Maker?
In exactly 1 week, 7 days.
So are you gonna like get like a Twitch channel to do all
Mm,
your twitching experiences with Mario Maker?
It seems like that would be a waste of time to set up a live stream when I can just play. It's cutting into my valuable playtime, even if it only is for a couple seconds.
So we got some fun and adventurous things going on, and we're gonna start off with a little thing you see here. J.J. Abrams and Son announced new Spider-Man comic for Marvel.
Actor
So
John
if you're
Cusack
not
deleted a
glued
tweet
into,
Oh
containing an
my god.
anti-Semitic image on Monday,
Autoplay.
blaming the initial post on a bot.
Bad
The image
touch,
Cusack
bad
posted
touch,
we were
depicted a
all
giant
bad
in the
image
touch.
bearing a Star of
we were
David,
all in the '90s.
enveloping a
We
group
all
of
remember
people,
being
accompanied
told
by the
that
words,
nobody
"To
wants
learn who rules
autoplay.
over you, simply find
It's
out who you are
bad.
not
It's
allowed
a
to
bad
criticize,"
idea,
which
and
it
you should feel
attributed.
bad for
Yeah.
having it.
That would be thehill.com. So thank
So
you.
so Marvel did a countdown 4, 3, 2, 1 with the spider webs, and people are like going, "Wait, four? Are they doing like a Spider-Man Fantastic Four crossover? Are they doing a comic book version of Sam Raimi's unproduced Spider-Man 4? Would you have liked that, Jim?
Sam
Would
Raimi.
that like
I
a
saw
movie
three.
that didn't get right, but a movie that didn't get made getting made into a comic book? Would that at least pique your non-comic book reader interest?
Maybe. Maybe. Maybe if Alan
And
Moore
then,
wrote it. Maybe.
well, I don't remember if Alan Moore ever wrote Spider-Man.
Probably
That would
not.
be extremely weird. I would be intrigued to see what Alan Moore would do on Spider-Man, but this is clearly not us setting up a bit for later. And Jim is such a talented professional; he can set up bits without knowing he's setting up a bit. It's kind of genius that way.
Yeah.
Um, so when it got down to one, they referenced One More Day, which kind of annoyed everybody because even though the comics are slowly pushing One More Day out the door, it's still a bad pill in everybody's mind that Spider-Man sold his marriage to the devil to save his 90-something-year-old aunt who was going to die because she was old. And it just, the fact that somebody shot her up because he decided to join Team Fascism in the comics, which they try to tell us was the good team for some reason. That's neither here nor there. So the big, bold, impressive announcement is Marvel Comics has piqued the interest of fans when it looked like they were teasing Spider-Man 4 for the comics. Then everyone got the rug pulled out from under them when it was revealed to be a countdown. Now Marvel has announced what they're cutting down to: a new comic for Spider-Man from J.J. Abrams and his son.
Is this going to be like Axe Cop?
It's not going to be like X-Cop because
Oh.
his son's 20. Unless his son has some sort of autism or functional retardation, it's going to be a different angle. But yes, J.J. Abrams is going to write in this comic. I am air quoting this as hard as I can. And we didn't really get that much in the story, but Abrams confirms that there will be a new villain introduced in the book called Cadaverous. The art will also come from Sarah Pichelli, who is not the cover artist that you see there, the one who's best known for illustrating Miles Morales from Ultimate Spider-Man. We know that Abrams is great at starting franchises and is interested to see what he has in store for Spider-Man, which is getting his son a job. Admittedly, you can't help but smell the nepotism. No, this is a shill website saying that. You can't help but smell the nepotism. When he made this announcement with his young son, young Henry Abrams is a 21-year-old, and he gets to write a Spider-Man comic at his age. Sure, it could turn out amazing, but I imagine a lot of people, myself included, are really envying how lucky he is being J.J. Abrams' son. People can work for decades and not get this kind of recognition. So basically, I looked on IMDb. J.J. Abrams has gotten him like some minor, like, getting your start in Hollywood kind of jobs in a couple productions. And Marvel has been saying, hey, we want to get in the J.J. Abrams business.
Of course.
Because, people think J.J. has a cachet of fan base or talent and interest. And he kind of blew them off until his son just happened to be 21 and looking to not be, hey, it's the executive producer's kid who's getting me coffee job. So, what do you think about this nepotism going on at Marvel Comics?
Well, is the comic going to be good? Maybe if the comic's good, maybe I'm fine with a little bit of nepotism if it's good. But
Eh,
it's probably not
but
going to be
but
anything
but this
special.
this is not a good look.
It's not a good
And,
look now.
and also, don't you think it's kind of a bit of a bad way to get your kids start off with, blatant baiting and we're announcing nepotism. It's a major PR event. Now, admittedly, this has brought some positive non-fan news media attention, but those are people who are just basically reprinting the Disney press releases. So we will see if anything positive comes from this J.J. Abrams news. But I do have some J.J. Abrams news that is very positive for J.J. Abrams. The J.J. Abrams bidding war was won by Warner Media as Bad Robot nears a $500 million partnership, which is good news if you're J.J. Abrams or pretty much anyone. If you get a $500 million check, you're having a good day. Bad Robot, the production company Abrams runs with his wife and co-CEO Katie McGrath, has been fielding offers from pretty much every major media company at one point or another. The sweepstakes to land the massive overall deal with Bad Robot, the famed production company run by J.J. Abrams and his wife and co-CEO, is nearing the finish line. Following a months-long courting process, which included multiple suitors, Warner Media is in final negotiations for a new partnership with Bad Robot, sources say. So JJ is currently in a position where he has a partnership with Viacom and a de facto partnership with Disney. Basically, Disney's saying, look, we kind of need your help with this whole Star Wars thing. We kind of screwed the pooch a little bit on that one.
Yeah.
And it's unclear how many years this new agreement is for, when the deal would keep Abrams within the company. He has called home since 2006, has not yet been finalized. Still, sources have estimated that any new pact for Bad Robot could be valued at in the $500 million vicinity when all is said and done. This would put the deal at the top of a recent wave of 9 figures for prolific producers. A bunch of people who most people listening wouldn't have heard of. Under the deal, Abrams and company will continue to create and develop new products for Warner Media and supervise other producers across film, TV, and digital platforms. Sources say the process of moving Bad Robot's feature film deal over from Viacom-owned Paramount Pictures has already begun. So what this means is that we may not be seeing that Quentin Tarantino Star Trek movie now.
Oh, womp, womp, womp.
This also means that the plug may end up getting sold on the 2 Star Trek shows in production for CBS All Access, as CBS is currently in the early phases of negotiation with Viacom. And
so we're not going to get Charlie Manson in space?
No, but that would be great. The pact arrives after Abrams and Bad Robot were considered to be the biggest fish in the overall deal waters. Multiple studios and streamers at least kicked the tires or engaged in hyper-competitive efforts to woo Abrams and McGrath on a possible rich pact for the company. Behind it, including HBO's Westworld and Hulu's Castle Rock, among others, Netflix, Apple, and Amazon, and fellow media behemoths Warner Media, Comcast, and Sony Entertainment were among those whose sources say met or explored deals with Bad Robot. Sources say Abrams and Bad Robot executives included the head of television, Ben Nelson, took meetings all over town as they were considered moving their overall deal from Warner Brothers TV, where the company behind Fringe and based since 2006. While outlets including Apple and Sony came close, sources stressed that Warner Media emerged to the top at least a month ago. And this had something to do also, it was being held up by the CEO of Warner Brothers, who was having a little molestery problem. Speaking of molestery problems, I realized I forgot to add something to the story list that was on my mind for that.
Oh.
So I'm gonna insert that in later, so you're gonna need to refresh that in a minute. Because I know we definitely didn't cover it last week because the story just broke this week.
Someone forgot to take his brain pills.
I forgot some brain medicine, apparently. But luckily I remembered because I was talking about Me Too and sexual harassment. So I know exactly where I'm going to stick this in. So what do you think about the current situation with J.J. Abrams?
I'm just bummed that I'm not going to get a Quentin Tarantino Star Wars or Star Trek film. That'd be even better. A Star Trek by Quentin Tarantino.
The Star Wars by Quentin Tarantino. Yeah. So while we're on the subject of Star Wars, people on the
Imagine
internet,
a rated R Star Wars movie.
that would be pretty good. While we're on the subject of Star Trek, though, people on the internet told William Shatner they wished he was dead.
Yeah, people found out that William Shatner is not woke. He hasn't been woke. He was actually the keynote speaker last time I was at Freedom Fest, which was 2 years
Nice.
ago. And
Nice.
yeah, he's a bit of a conservative.
William Shatner shuts down the Star Trek podcast host who wished he was dead. So somebody who's hosting a podcast for Star Trek fans said, "I wish William Shatner was dead." That's an oops moment.
That's an oopsie moment.
William Shatner, who played Captain Kirk in the original Star Trek series, responded to a Star Trek podcast host who wished he was dead. And we did cover this issue previously on last week's episode. But the reason I'm posting this link here so we can refresh ourselves is because there have been some interesting things that have happened. So there's a whole cabal of people who have taken the moniker that Ethan Van Sciver uses called the Fandom Menace to identify themselves. And one of them had gotten banned by William Shatner, blocked on his Twitter. And fans were like going, "Hey, this is a good guy. This isn't one of those internet weirdos." And Shatner said, "Tell you what, if you guys can drop 10 grand for my charity, I'll unblock him." And then that started the ball rolling, and they're saying, "Hey, Shatner, would you come on our YouTube joint?" In an amazing and glorious turn of events, the great Admiral William Shatner has hinted and excited many of our interests with the possibilities that he might take the time to sit and talk with one of the most fervent and loyal spokespersons in the indie sphere. I don't think indie sphere is a good name. I think you shouldn't try to use that. That's probably not a good look. And someone who is most certainly to be counted among Mr. Shatner's most ardent and loyal supporters, the Overlord Doomcock would be overjoyed by an audience with William Shatner's. Fans everywhere would be thrilled to have one of their own reunited once again with their true love and legendary ambassador, or the spirit behind one of their franchises. Like most of the many nowadays, everything has a price for William Shatner. And for those who know of his reputation in the industry, Bill Shatner would do anything for enough money. As always, there must be conditions for Mr. Shatner's involvement or support of anything. He insists that it would be someone to increase or aid in some form of charity for him to agree to support or endorsement of anything. This is how it should be, of course. So they pitched online a $40,000 donation to his charity to get Mr. Bill Shatner on the Doomcock show, although it would probably be hosted by the High Council or one of the bigger volume YouTube channels. So what do you think about William Shatner slumming it in YouTube counterculture pundit land?
Why not? William Shatner's great.
But I'm thinking, like, if William Shatner's like the most normie tier we've had, like, for people who we could legitimately get in this little space on the internet. Like, you got guys like Adam Baldwin, Kevin Sorbo, what's his face, Drew Carey, James Woods. But like William Shatner's like a fairly broad and recognizable celebrity. So do you think if Mr. Shatner does this, we might open the door for more positive celebrities to get into the fringes of internet culture?
Yeah, so long as they don't do it cringy like. Will Smith was doing it. Will
Smith had a fun YouTube joint.
Yeah, but it got better. It was definitely improving. At first, it was a little bit cringe, but now he's kind of got the feel for it. He's doing a lot better. The whole video about the Matrix is pretty good.
Yeah. So, some celebrities, however, are cutting edge and getting into the edgelord territory of internet culture. John Cusack deleted a tweet after being accused of anti-Semitism, which is a big oopsie-doopsie for Mr. John Cusack. Okay. Actor John Cusack deleted a tweet containing an anti-Semitic image Monday, blaming the initial post on a bot. The image Cusack posted depicted a giant hand bearing a Star of David, enveloping a group of people, accompanied by the words, "To learn who rules over you, simply find out who you are not allowed to criticize," which is attributed to Voltaire. with Cusack adding, "Follow the money." The quote, frequently misattributed to the French satirist, was in fact by an American white nationalist, Kevin Alfred Strom. "A bot got me." Cusack tweeted after deleting the initial post, "I thought I was endorsing a pro-Palestinian justice retweet of an earlier post. It came, I think, from a different source. Shouldn't have retweeted it." And
That's
that
a
is
big oopsie.
clearly a thing that happened. That's right up there with the random tranny porn that got on Alex Jones's phone as a thing that happens. That is totally a thing that happens. In a later tweet, Cusack wrote, "It's clear that even if it was Israel's flag, and even if you don't have anti-Semitic bone in your body, it is still an anti-Semitic cartoon because it deploys anti-Jewish stereotypes in its attack on Israel, even if those critiques about state violence are legit." So
Look,
again, it's like,
it's not
look.
anti-Semitism. He's just saying that the Jews have all the shekels.
So what's your opinion about John Cusack's totally legitimate thing that happened on the internet that just happened because of a random bot?
Sure. I think people get so wrapped up in one side of the Palestine versus Israel debate that they get a little too far with it sometimes. It's a little too far.
And
I've heard
and they don't think, this looks bad. This looks like a horrible anti-Semitic slur. Maybe I shouldn't do that.
It reminds me a little bit of when someone was saying "Viva Hamas" because it was a YouTuber, fairly popular at the time. I won't mention him by name because I think he's since gone. But he said "Viva Hamas" because he disliked the Israel and the conflict so much. And it's like, okay, that's a fine opinion that you could, that you're a little more pro-Palestinian than Israel, but supporting an actual terrorist organization, bruh.
Well, I mean, lots of people support PETA, which supports terrorist organizations.
Right.
So it's not that big of a jump. But what is a big jump is we live in the age where terrible fan opinions lead to change.org petitions.
Oh, no.
And we have one of the worst ones that have just come up right now. So the director and several of the producers behind Dark Phoenix said that they had a much better cut or script of the movie. And so people are saying release the original version of Dark Phoenix. Resurrect the Phoenix. On June 10th, a number of media outlets pointed the finger at other movies for X-Men Dark Phoenix's poor box office. But further investigation points to reshoots and bad critic reviews as the cause. And I'd like to start a petition for the original version of Dark Phoenix to be released. So, Jim, what do you think about internet fans with terrible opinions starting a petition?
This is what's, oh gosh, I don't care about signing any petitions. Thank you.
Unless it's a petition to make Mario Maker come out faster.
Yeah. Or to get Brian Sovereign to review the Emoji Movie, which got a lot of signatures and support, but he still refuses to review the Emoji Movie.
Well, look, maybe we could set up a Subscribe Star Patreon sort of gimmick where a whole bunch of people get together and say, "Listen, we're going to give you a whole lot of eBay money for you to review this movie." At what point would Brian's breaking point be?
I don't know. I mean, look, if Chris Stuckman would review it, why not? Why not Brian Sovereign? I mean, he goes and sees every horrible video game movie and loves it. I don't understand why not this video game movie. Anyways, yeah. This seems a lot like people wanting another sequel to Soilo. It's like, why? Nobody liked it. Nobody liked it. And where would you go with the story? Besides A New Hope. Really?
Exactly. So
I guess we already have a sequel.
we're now going to be going into some of the darker parts of our show today, and we're going to start off with a story about horrible things happening to Facebook moderators that happened in my backyard.
Oh, nice. This is a follow-up story, actually.
This is actually, no, we talked about one in Arizona. But there's one in Tampa, which is a short drive for me, and I would have to take a $3 an hour pay cut to go work there, but we're going to get to that pay issue here in just a second. Kevin Utley loved to help people. First, he served in the United States Coast Guard, where he rose to the rank of lieutenant commander. So my first little pause in the story is like, why are you working a terrible call center job? If you're a former military lieutenant commander, you could probably have done better. He married, had a family, devoted himself utterly to his 2 little girls. After he got out of the military, he worked as a moderator for Facebook, where he purged the social network of the worst stuff that its users post on a daily basis: hate speech, the murders, the child pornography. Utley worked overnight shift at Facebook content moderation site in Tampa, Florida, operated by a professional service vendor named Cognizant. The 800 or so workers there faced relentless pressure from their bosses to better enforce the social network's community standards, which receive near daily updates that leave its contractor workforce in a perpetual state of uncertainty. The Tampa site has routinely failed to meet 98% accuracy targets set by Facebook. In fact, with a score that's been hovering around 92%, it is one of Facebook's worst performing sites. The stress of the job weighed on Utley, according to his former coworkers, who, like all Facebook contractors at the Tampa site, must sign a 14-page non-disclosure agreement. The stress they put on him, it's unworldly, one of Utley's managers told me. I did a lot of coaching. I spent some time talking with him about the things he was having issues seeing, and he was always worried about getting fired. On the night of March 9th, 2018, Utley slumped over at his desk. Coworkers noticed that he was in distress when he began sliding out of the chair. 2 of them began to perform CPR, but no defibrillator was available in the building. A manager called for an ambulance. So this guy was busy monitoring all the worst garbage that gets posted on Facebook, and he had a massive heart attack and died. So Jim, let's talk about that for a moment. So $12 an hour isn't a good price point for this part-time labor. Because, if you're looking at child porn, murders, suicides, hate speech, stuff like that online, it's good to have psychological impact. So clearly $12 an hour isn't enough. But
I better be getting at least full bennies for that.
But I have a second, more important question. Do you think the problem is recruiting normies?
Yes.
Do you think they need to find 4chan edgelords who are used to gore threads to be responsible?
There's a lot of people who are looking for work on the wonderful site known as eBombs World, including the hacker 4chan, who would love to take a job like this, to get their foot in the door in the tech world. This would be a great opportunity for them, since they have to wade through this shit anyway. And in fact, there's lots of people who do it for free as volunteers.
Or for some Hot Pockets.
For some Hot Pockets. In fact, we all know of a guy who probably might be looking for a little bit of work, who is in a wheelchair bound, who might be interested in that kind of line of work since he was doing it already.
Though he does have some legal issues with the FBI.
Yeah, and he's got that whole article about eugenics.
Yeah.
Which I sympathize with, considering his position, but yeah.
So let me give you some fun here. They receive 2 15-minute breaks, a 30-minute lunch break each day, along with 9 minutes per day of wellness time that they could use whenever they feel overwhelmed by the emotional toll of the job. So we've both worked emotionally stressful kinds of job.
Yeah.
That's a BS right there. Like, my job would be a lot more intolerable if I didn't have an hour lunch to drive home and pet my cat and eat lunch. I'm just kind of stupefied at this whole situation here.
Oh, just let me bring my cat to work.
Exactly. Also, as was covered in the initial story, in Phoenix, where workers told me that they had begun to embrace the fringe views after continually being exposed to conspiracy theories at work. One brought a gun to work to protect himself against the possibility of being a fired employee returning to the office seeking vengeance.
What? What?
Yeah. So,
that's not a good look.
And this guy's father had to showed up at the office, and the managers refused to let anybody know he died until his father showed up and said, "This is where my son died."
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Pay me $15 and I'll do this work. I'll do this.
I'd need at least 20, maybe 25.
I can handle it. I'm a big boy.
Well, I can handle it too, but I need some actual money to like switch around for my current job point.
Okay.
And yeah, so
Well,
this is awful.
I'm undercutting your bid then. Facebook, call me.
Unfortunately, they want people to be in a managed call center environment so that you can be micromanaged more effectively,
Well, that's fine.
and then you'll have a heart attack and die.
No,
No,
like I've seen pretty nasty. I used to be on 4chan back in the day. Or, I mean, I used to hang out with 4chan on eBombs World back in the day. So we're very familiar with this.
so now we're gonna lighten up our darkness a little bit. OJ Simpson joins Twitter and says he's got a little getting even to do.
This is yours
Oh,
truly.
hey, ABC News, stop autoplaying videos.
Stop.
Just stop.
Just days ahead of the anniversary of the 25th anniversary of the arrest of his alleged murder of his ex-wife and her friend, O.J. Simpson launched a Twitter account saying he's got a little getting even to do.
Oh no.
The inaugural post of the 71-year-old NFL Hall of Famer who was famously acquitted of the murder charges in the trial of the century, only to be sent to prison a decade later over a botched robbery, with a shaky video titled "Coming Soon," in which he sports a blue sweater and a bright smile, and palm trees are visible in the background. By Saturday evening, the video had been viewed almost 5 million times.
So here's the question: do we still have to say alleged since he was found guilty in a civil trial?
That's complicated. The civil trial just stated that he was responsible for their murder. Didn't state that he did the murder.
I don't think he would sue us, considering that, like, if he sued people for every time someone accused him of murder. I mean,
Yeah, I'm saying alleged because
Be on the
there's
safe
still
side.
people. There's still people out there who believe he didn't do it.
yeah. I mean, there's still people who like broccoli on their pizza, but
Yeah. I mean, there are people who think Cosby didn't rape all those people.
yeah.
We're trying to be inclusive of different points of view because you know what? Inclusive and tolerant people would never do anything wrong to harm people. Now, on a somehow related subject, Max Landis has made his way back into the news, and he's having a big career oopsie doopsie.
Oh no. So wait, he's not going to write the sequel to Space Cop. Is that what we're hearing?
No, it's much worse than that. 8 women, it's now more, accuse Hollywood filmmaker Max Landis of emotional and sexual abuse. We're not people to him. So he's definitely not making a trip back to Milwaukee for that second video.
No.
When Annie Baker decided to post her Max Landis warning on social media last week, it was with one word in mind: protect. She'd been extremely upset to learn that Landis, the screenwriter behind Chronicle and Bright, still had videos of Baker posted in the highlights section of his Instagram, despite the fact that she had broken up with him months ago and demanded no contact. Baker figured that the new, vulnerable women just entering Landis' life would quickly find her page. If you found my page via Max Landis, hi, Baker wrote. I'm going to give you some direct info I wish I had gotten because the experience/aftermath of this person is really destructive and it'll be riddled with pain and emotional work that you don't need to spend your precious energy on. So, Mr. Max Landis, the son of famed Hollywood producer John Landis, who's had one good movie he wrote and a bunch of mediocre movies, some bad ones that other people wrote. He allegedly raped a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, it's not good, including our good friend Rich Evans.
Poor Rich Evans.
One of the accused.
That's why he had to spoon with Macaulay Culkin since he's been staying there.
Yeah, because he was the little spoon. Now he's the big
Oof.
spoon.
Oof. So one of these ex-girlfriends even commented on Max Landis having sex with a friend of hers in the living room while she was upstairs in the bedroom sleeping, and the girl was passed out drunk. And another one of the girlfriends in this article that's in the Daily Beast talked about how Max Landis, as he was going on a PR campaign to improve his image, had a database in Excel of all the women he's had sex with and everything they would say about him. Now, this is one of those situations where normally false accusations that come come out just as somebody's going on a career renewal, had 2 movies that were trying to get started, I would normally be suspicious of, but 8 women coming forward, that's kind of That's kind of a little suspicious. He also showed one of his girlfriend. He showed me abuse and humiliation porn and constantly tested my boundaries. This became murkier and murkier as our relationship got more tumultuous. I grew to view sex with him as the only way to receive love and connect. This led to me allowing myself to become more and more abused. He claimed that seeing me cry was a turn on. This later turned into a routine of him yelling and humiliating me until I cried, and having sex with me while I continued to cry with no regards or effort to making things right. So this is some pretty gruesome stuff.
Yeah, not a good look.
And there's a law firm that's currently out there in Los Angeles saying it has Max Landis raped you, and trying to get a class action lawsuit together to strip Max of the last of the money his father gave him and the last of his good earning movies gave him.
That's a pretty big oopsie.
It's a pretty big oopsie. So, what do you think about this whole Max Landis situation?
I'm just upset that we're not going to see him review any more Neil Breen films.
Yeah. But you know what? He may now be the situation where he could work with Neil Breen. They could collaborate in the movie.
That would be great. But you'd have to keep the whoever is playing Neil Breen's love interest away from him, because they're probably going to get raped.
Probably going to get raped.
So just keep the distance. Keep them offset. There we go.
So a thing I'm going to be reviewing soon is Neon Genesis Evangelion has come back to TV and is now being done on Netflix. But for a variety of reasons, Netflix redubbed the show, and that's causing a lot of tumult with the fandom. Neon Genesis Evangelion's original English dub was hindered not by its performances, but by the technology of its time. Spike Spencer's take on Shinji was iconic, vocally capturing his young character's evolving pain. However, when Neon Genesis Evangelion first came to the United States, the industry was still in the early stages of dubbing. Especially in the show's first couple of episodes, the vocal performances were a bit rough. Over time, the original Neon Genesis Evangelion dub transformed into something the fans either love or despise. I'm in column number 2. While adding the beloved series to its library, Netflix sidestepped the fandom feud by adding its own new dub comprised primarily of new voice actors it's worked with before. The new version is a lot more modern anime dubbed in terms of its vocal consistency. It's good and well-performed translation. I'll let you guys know what I think. One that won't scare away new fans as the original English dub could. However, the beloved original cast for the series wasn't asked to reprise their roles. There's also been some translation things that came up. The main character, Shinji, has a bromantic relationship with one of the monstrous creatures known as the Angels. In the anime, they didn't allude to it being a loving relationship because they hadn't actually gotten that far in the manga story. But that's now been added into the new story. And it was, pretty obvious because, you had 2 boys, rubbing on each other in a bathtub. I'm just saying. Not in a normal Japanese cleaning somebody's back way when you're in a bathhouse. It was a little too close.
Ew.
And yeah, that's the thing that happened. So, what do you think about the new translation of Evangelion?
I don't know. I'm not really into anime. A friend of mine tried to get me into this movie or series.
Well, it's a TV series.
Yeah. A while ago, and I just kind of got bored. It's just TLDR or TLDW.
And you see, the thing is, it's a slow burn kind of thing as you learn more stuff about what's going on and how completely screwed up everybody is. It brings you into the show because it's all about how everybody's a broken, horrible person, and they treat everybody else in a broken and horrible way. So while we're on the subject of anime, One Punch Man is upsetting some of the Minecraft mobs out there on the internets. The Shankaku Complex is reporting that after seeing the character, known as Blackluster in the English translation, known something else in the Japanese, it's been considered racist. It's a black man who has a black metallic skin. Of course, in the original Japanese version, the character's name is Super Alloy Darkshine. So it doesn't look like blackface, it's just, oh, that guy's made out of black metal. And people are a little upset about that. Comicbook.com was quick to swoop in and taking up the umbrage on behalf of those who whined about black super character and One Punch Man writing. The fan makes the case that this is arguably racist depiction of Blackluster is unique to anime only, as the One Punch Man image seems to be more genuine in its approach to drawing black character. JC Staff character designs and the lighting for the anime looks like it's ripped off of a 1930s blackface cartoon.
Oh, we're on the One Angry Boomer story.
One Punch Man thing, yeah. One Angry Gamer.
One Angry Boomer. Sorry.
I know this isn't about Mario Maker, so that's probably why you're having some issues.
Yeah. And, I was just too busy thinking about Mario Maker.
Yeah. And there's been a whole little sub thing going on with art people on the Twitters talking about how you accurately draw black people. So that's been a thing. Also a thing, there was a big survey which got reported in all of the usual suspect fake news sources as saying Star Wars fans are sexist. People who hate The Last Jedi are sexist and bigoted and Trump supporters. Well, and this thing was promoted by Claudia Gray, who is a person involved in the Lucas thing, does some writing and stuff for them. And she asked, hey, can we take this survey? Takes you about 10 minutes. And later, after all the press came out, said on her Twitter account, this is Sarah, Claudia's assistant. I take care of her Twitter account for her. I was the one who posted the survey. I thought the poll was coming from a legit source. Though I did not take the survey before posting, I did not do my due diligence on this matter, and I am sorry. Anyone who's met me or worked with me knows that I would do anything for Claudia's fans. I'm heartbroken and disappointed that I disappointed them and promised to learn from this mistake. I will work harder going forward to make sure that the items we're posting come from a legitimate source, and will do a better job of vetting things like this in the future. I'm sorry for the anger or pain I may have caused. Claudia does not endorse this survey, and I am fully to blame.
So what was this tweet about? Attention, Star Wars fans. Mark needs your help from
a different Mark, obviously.
From a bunch of sexist gamers. All he needs is your credit card number, the 3 digits on the back, and the expiration month and date. But
also
hurry.
the last 4 on your social.
Yeah.
and you see on the next image frame there from Twitter, you can see what the result of this survey is. And look, all of these clickbait websites, all of them. So do you think maybe people at Lucasfilm are starting to learn that maybe this isn't a good idea?
No.
No?
No, it's good. It's good. Gets everybody talking about shitty movies.
Well, that's true.
Think about it. You made a bad movie and everybody hates it. And then everybody wants to forget it ever happened. So much so that they don't go and see the next movie. And you have another movie coming up. What's a good way to get everybody talking about it? Oh, I know. A bad scientific study that shows that everybody who hates your thing is a sexist, racist, homophobic bigot. Well, that'll get everybody talking about, and that'll get everybody talking about your dumb movie that's coming up that we're going to have to watch because we're film reviewers and we have to.
And we're excited to consume product. We're going to get excited to consume the next product.
If I wasn't doing the show, I would skip it and wait for it to come out on home video. That's how bad my opinion is of Star Wars at this point. I'm just gonna be honest, and I know there's a lot of people who are feeling the exact same way, who are more or less interested in Star Wars than I am.
I mean, I'm seeing this next one because, like, my parents took me as a small infant child to see the first one. There's a sort of personal sense of obligation to seeing how this process that's been going on through my whole life comes to an end.
I still
But
have not seen episode 3.
it
Nor
was,
have I seen the second half of of episode 2. Because every time I try to, like, all right, I'm gonna trudge through. I'm gonna be a big boy. I get halfway through it. I'm like, I can't do this
And again,
anymore.
I still remember after seeing The Last Jedi, I was confused about whether I thought Star Wars was good. I just wanted to watch one sequence of The Empire Strikes Back, and I just watched the whole movie. I was like, well, I'm having a really good time. I'll just sit here and watch it.
Yeah.
It's the exact opposite sort of experience. But yeah. So we're gonna pop back over to Niche Gamer, or to One Angry Gamer, because
Angry
he's
Boomer.
talking about Niche Gamer. Niche Gamer has been rising through the ranks and skyrocketing in popularity in recent times. They've been publishing more content, even landing interviews with some creators. At E3, they talked to the creator of Yakuza, and they had lots of insightful questions, but they were generally polite. They said things like, I really like your games. Here's things I really like about your games. Here's some questions. And not all of them were, puffball pieces. Let me see. Here's one of the ones he said that a gaming journalist was very critical of. I wanted to just comment on your games. We cover a lot of very Japanese games, and we're very passionate about the culture. We think because they're very Japanese, and they don't really try to be anything else, they're successful. That's why your fans like them so much. Thank you. And this person, who's a quote-unquote gaming journalist, said, Jesus Christ, and I thought my interview was a bit of cringe. And, of course, people are making ethics in games journalism jokes about that. Another one said, pretty cool to find out that the Yakuza series does not discuss politics and social issues in Japan. Very cool in a game where the main character had his face changed because an actor did a drug, nothing to do with Japan's draconian views on recreational drug use. So, what do you think about these people trying to blackball this normal journalism website who's, having a normal conversation as part of his interview saying, yeah, I think this is a good thing in your game, so let's have a positive conversation about your games.
I don't know what any of this has to do with Mario Maker 2. Can you...
It has to do with Mario Maker 2 because they could be asking positive comments to Nintendo reviewers if they keep leveling up as a commentator.
So you mean that there's going to be less levels for me to play because people are going to be less likely to play because this thing is going to try to take down people talking positively about Mario Maker 2?
Well, these terrible people in the gaming journalism, they don't want to talk about positive things about games. They want to talk about all the representation.
Right, because Mario Maker is just a thing to rescue a damsel in distress trope.
Exactly.
I am suddenly interested.
While we're talking about that, Anita Sarkeesian talked a whole bunch at E3 this year, and somebody on Reddit had some interesting things to point out. One of her volunteers has not been taking any salary. 17, they have a annual earnings report. They started 2019 with 30 grand and some change in the bank. Their costs for 2018 were over 300,000, and these costs were down 500,000 from 2017. And they have spent over $1.2 million in the past 3 years. So it looks like Miss Anita Sarkeesian might be finally getting shut out of the internet because nobody wants to pay her for, paying her $800,000 to do a video series on YouTube that conservatively we could probably do for 10.
Yeah. It really was not hard to do the things that she did. It really did not take that much money. But hey, if you can earn that much money and get people to fund your project, I'm completely not against it, even if it does turn out to be a complete waste of time, energy, money, effort, etc. But yeah, she's not really relevant anymore. No one really talks about her anymore. No one really cares about her anymore. And she's trying to get attention like crazy, but just no one can be bothered to care. Her last little stint was trying to accuse Ninja I don't know. Do you have anything about this Ninja?
Ninja?
Okay, so are you aware of who Ninja is? Maybe I shouldn't bury the lead anyway. Ninja is
What did you?
yeah, he's a Twitch gamer. I think he's mostly known for his Fortnite games. I don't know what he's been doing lately, but that's kind of where he got famous. And he's one of the biggest kind of gaming people right now. And what he said was like, I'm not going to stream with women. And the reason why I don't,
Him.
the reason why I'm not going to stream with women is because look, there's going to be people who are going to comment saying that, you know, oh look, Ninja's thirsty, or oh, these two are definitely boning. Look how look at their rapport with each other. They're clearly boning. And he's got a wife, and he's like, I just don't want to put any strain on the relationship. And my wife says it's okay for me to do that, but I just don't think that it's appropriate.
So in other words, he didn't want to be pro Jared.
Right. He didn't want to be seen to be pro Jared, even though he wasn't. So he was just like, let's just nip it in the bud right now. But I'm just not going to stream with female gamers and just be done with it. You know, I don't think he doesn't have an opposition to female gamers. I think he would probably support them if they were doing stuff. But in terms of streaming with them, he was like, it's kind of the whole Mike Pence thing. Like, I'm not going to be in a room with a female. I just don't want to take that risk for anybody to spread rumors or anything like that, or accusations. Just
the rule of two, man.
Yeah,
it's the rule of two.
And I completely agree with that. I'm kind of the same way when I'm at work, and but that's actually most company policies is kind of like that.
Yeah.
Most because of the industry that I work in, which is medical and psych. You know, or any one of those people, especially people with dementia, Alzheimer's, schizophrenia, those types of people will likely accuse you of doing things that you didn't do.
And having a second person having eyes on you, is going to be helpful.
Yeah. Especially in this crazy world we live in, where everybody's constantly getting accused of rape to get attention. Where that sort of thing is really valuable social currency. It's probably a good idea to just say, look, you know what? Women playing video games, good idea. Just go do it over there, and I'll do it over here. And I might say something good about, you know, hey, this person did a really good stream. You should go check them out, but I'm not going to stream with them or do things with them because people will accuse me of being thirsty. And so Feminist Frequency decided, hey, E3, why did you name Ninja, or was it E3? It was ESPN named him as like one of the big athletes or whatever, and had like a big thing on their front page of their cover that had his face on it. And they're like, how dare you supporting misogyny? And everybody, the internet had a collective, just like, oh, Anita's.
And she attacked.
I forgot Anita was a thing.
2077 at E3, and they're like, nah, we're good.
No, we're not taking the bait. This is bait.
And to further go along with this little digging that Reddit came up with, there was a puff piece that was done in Polygon, and the Quartering found this out and pointed this out in the video. A direct quote from the article from Polygon. Earlier this year, Sarkeesian decided that Feminist Frequency needed to change. She ceased taking salary and laid off her co-creators and close friends, Ebony Adams and Petite. She closed her offices and stopped making videos. Though I honestly don't remember the last time she made a video. And I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot of money to make YouTube videos.
No, especially the type she's doing.
Yeah. So, that's we may be seeing the end of Anita Sarkeesian.
I think we already have. Yeah. I'll go a step further.
And however, the influence of people like Anita, it still continues. Over on Niche Gamer, Final Fantasy VII Remake director confirms Honeybees in cross-dressing.
Did you say Mario Maker 2?
No, I didn't.
Oh, sorry.
And that Tifa's breast size was limited by the ethics department.
Did you say Peach's breast size?
Tifa.
Oh, I thought you said Princess Peach.
Nintendo doesn't have a department to minimize the breasts on their characters because they want people to have smiles, remember?
Oh. Okay, that was good. Go on.
We wanted what the comments they had here was, we wanted Tifa to have abs so she has more of an athletic body type. The ethics department at Square Enix also said we had to tighten her chest so it didn't look unnatural during all the intense fighting. Because of this, we added black underwear and a tank top. So, Jim, would you like a job deciding how big the boobies on video game characters need to be?
I would love this job. Where do I sign up? Facebook, I'm no longer hireable. Square Enix, call me. Or maybe I could do both. Maybe it'll give me
Maybe
a
you could do
better
both.
perspective.
A better perspective.
Seeing all the garbage on the internet, and you're like, you know what? Maybe C cup. Maybe C cup.
And this was connected, of course, to Sony's policy on a global standards for all Sony-released games. So, what do you think about video game companies having entire departments to decide what size the characters' boobs are?
I still don't know what any of this has to do with Mario Maker 2.
So we're gonna venture a little bit away from the world of video games. We're gonna talk about baseball.
Baseball.
But don't worry.
I'm sorry. Oh, you mean Luck Swing? Okay, go ahead.
Why are the Chicago White Sox commemorating Disco Demolition Night? On July 12th, 1979, disco records were destroyed as part of an in-match entertainment. It has come to be seen as an appalling act of prejudice. So, Jim...
What?
Yep. So, let me ask you a question, Jim. Have you ever considered hating disco to be an act of prejudice?
No.
So,
I think the better answer is, what are you, stupid?
So I'm gonna skip
Hold on.
to the good part of this article.
Hold on. I got a correction. What are you, retarded?
Disco Demolition Night took place on July 12, 1979 at the Sox Old Stadium, Kaminsky Park, trying to boost attendance in a season of poor crowds. The Sox invited a local DJ named Steve Dahl to provide some entertainment between the first and second games of a doubleheader against the Detroit Tigers. Mr. Dahl, a rock DJ, had lost his slot at a radio station when it switched formats to disco, and when he got a new job, he made much of his unequivocal hatred of the music. His hatred was to be the entertainment for fans. Mr. Dahl invited listeners to bring disco records to the ballpark where he could blow them up to end disco once and for all.
Could you imagine being the program director whose idea it was like, hey, let's change our format from rock. That's a dead genre. We're gonna change it over to disco.
Disco is gonna go on forever.
Disco. Disco forever. Disco Inferno forever. It's never.
The Sox had hoped
It's never
for
going away. What could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong?
We should fire this guy. Nothing terrible will ever come of this.
The Sox had hoped for a crowd of 20,000. They got 50,000 with a further 20,000 locked out. During the first game, vinyl records began showering down on the outfield from the seats.
Yeah, because if you got in for free, I think you got in for free or discounted if you brought a disco.
It was discounted.
Album. Yeah.
Yeah. The explosion during the break prompted a pitch invasion of several thousand people. Writing in 2014, Mr. Dahl recalls it as a joyous heat and beer-infused celebration. The footage shows fans tearing down the bullpen, building bonfires in the outfield, and burning banners in the stands. It was described as a riot on local news, and it took mounted police in riot gear to clear the field. The second game was abandoned.
Yep. They had
What made Disco Night infamous was it seemed to symbolize the rage of white male heterosexuality against Black, Latino, and gay culture.
No.
So is disco
No.
music for Black people?
No.
Mexicans and the gays?
It was a very inclusive genre, to its credit.
But no.
But no, it was just a stupid music fad. And it was already waning at the time that this was already happened. This was just the final nail in the coffin. By the way, not to plug or anything, but I do have Disco Sucks shirts for sale that may be very similar to another disco shirt that I've seen. Can't quite put on it. I can't quite put my finger on what it exactly is for legal reasons, but you can go and get it at store.lolberts.com, LOLBERTS, and get yourself a Disco Suck shirt to commemorate the destruction of of minorities. I mean, of a bad music
we
genre.
do not endorse the destruction of minorities, which would be something that would get you banned on YouTube. We
I
do not
never-
endorse that.
That was just a slip of the tongue. No, but seriously, what are you, retarded?
So, Kaminsky Park was situated in the white working class neighborhood of Bridgeport, and there had been a history of racist incidents in the area. Chicago in the 70s was very racist. It's still kind of racist now. One African American member of the stadium staff said that the fans didn't just bring disco records, they brought records by any black artist they had that came to hand. And Rolling Stone Dave March described it as your most paranoid fantasy about where the ethnic cleansing of rock radio could ultimately lead.
Do you think that maybe people brought records by African American artists not because they hated them, but mostly because, like, hey, what could I pass off as disco since I don't own any disco albums and I want to get
Because
a cheaper
disco
ticket?
was terrible.
Yeah, and I just want a cheaper ticket to go see a baseball game.
Yeah. Well, Niles Rogers of Chic, a disco and funk band, compared it to Nazi book burning.
I really, what is some dude at the ticket counter really know about disco?
It's just that it's terrible.
Yeah, just that it's terrible. Like, okay, Lionel Richie, that sounds like a disco album. Go ahead.
They're dancing on the ceiling. That sounds like something that'd be a disco.
Yeah. If the lyric says something along the lines of, Inferno or dancing, it's probably a disco album. Just let them in.
So do you think the Chicago White Sox are wrong for commemorating this infamous event in their franchise's history?
It is called the White Sox. White Sox.
Oh, snap.
Because, white people
And-
like to sock minorities. Just saying.
Snap. So
You got to read between the lines. To everything is sexist, racist, homophobic, and you have to point
Homophobic.
it all out.
So I now know a secret. I need to get more little bits of music history in here when there's an opportunity like this to come up. That needs to be a thing that happens more often.
Yeah.
And we're gonna wrap up this little section of our show by talking about Tumblr and how Tumblr is in fact cancer.
Yeah. We're going to hear all of this from a boomer.
Dungeons and Dragons designer convinced staff to use Tumblr blog as a resource. Dungeons and Dragons game designer Kate Wells shared a tweet recently explaining that she had convinced all the other game designers at Wizards of the Coast working on Dungeons and Dragons to read through a racist Tumblr blog themed solely around race and ethnicity and people's experiences where they cannot shape their lives around anything other than skin color. According to Welch, this was a useful resource for writing ethnically diverse characters. This tweet went out on June 14th, 2019. Welch posts links to a Tumblr blog called Writing with Color, which is a collection of blog posts from different people who basically share the experiences and how life is themed around their racial identity using bizarre language from the regressive left lexicon. Just to give you some examples there, from a half Japanese, half Polish lesbian, explained how she dresses like a man. I dress like a dude going to an informal job interview. My mom and dad have expressed a lot of wishes for me to present more feminine. I used to get bullied for not presenting feminine, but I really stopped dressing like this. Another one here is from a Native American. Deep down, there's no such thing as Native American. That's what white people think our names are, and what our actual names are, and what our actual names are vary by nation. Pick a tribe, look at notable members that they have listed on their website, research what's been written about the members of the nation, figure out how each nation's names, blah, 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 blah. So, do you think Tumblr should ever be a legitimate source for anything?
No. It's not even a legitimate source for porn anymore, so what's the point of even talking about this website anymore? Oh, God.
Well, we're basically pointing out how Tumblr's infected things as cancer should, and leading to the death of things that are fun, wholesome, and entertaining, like porn.
Why isn't it dead yet? Really, why isn't it dead yet? It should be dead.
Because there's some investors who are backing it up. So, Jim, we got an album to talk.
Oh, great. All right, so the album for this week, which actually we didn't pick one, we just kind of grabbed it at the last second. Like, oh yeah, we forgot to pick an album.
But
So
it was on our list,
yeah,
so it's like we picked the album correctly and planned that.
yeah. So this is Deltron 3030. Deltron 3030 is a hip hop group, which it looks like it originally was a product, or not a product. Well, it is a product. It really was a thing that they did just for one album. As Dan the Automator usually does. He usually grabs like a rapper and they does a project under an alter ego.
Mm-hmm.
They do kind of like a little, little bit of an opera, and then goes on and finds another one and does another thing. So some of the other things he's done is something like Dr. Octagon Ecologist, which is a fantastic album, which we'll probably get to eventually. But this one is Deltron 3030. This album came out in the year 2000. With Dan the Automator and a little rapper you may have heard of named Del the Funky Homo Sapien. So if you were wondering what that familiar rapper was, now you know.
So he is one of the guys from Gorillaz.
No, he was he rapped on one of the songs, from what I understand. He's not actually one of the members. Yeah, so that's why.
Okay.
What song was that? As though I'm not happy, I'm feeling sad. Yeah, that's Del the Funky Homo Sapien, the guy that does the. I think that was a song. Yeah, it was a song. So yeah, this album came out. It's very kind of symphonic, and the overarching kind of storyline of this album is it's basically a dystopian time in the year 3000, 3030, and it's not some of Del's more intricate hip hop stylings, but it definitely kind of fit the mold of what they were trying to do with this album, and I thought it hit it really well. It's very relaxing, but there's very moments that kind of stand out of it every once in a while, which I'm not the biggest fan of, and some humor elements, which I am a fan of, but I still think it kind of sticks out of the rest of the album because the rest of the album is very kind of feels based, which those kind of stand out. But overall, I think the album is really great. It's one of the albums I own on vinyl. So, Larry, what did you think of Deltron 3030 self-titled album, Deltron 3030?
I liked it. It reminded me of the Boondocks because I was thinking about they're going to be doing a new season.
Oh, did we lose?
Oh,
no.
No, I'm still here. So I'm thinking it reminds me of the Boondocks and things like that. And I thought, that's a good music. It's like a nice groove, good rap music, good hip hop music.
Mm-hmm. It's not in your face. It's not trying to punch you with anything. It's just, it almost sounds like something you would listen to in the background of doing other things. But if you do focus in on it, you're like, wow, there's a lot of production that went into this thing, and it's really beautiful. A lot of the beats are very beautiful, very intricate. Yeah. Is that it?
That's it. That's it. And it's a good album. It's enjoyable. It's fun.
Mm-hmm. Definitely some standout tracks are 3030. You've probably heard that song. And I think it was featured in, where is it? Here we go. Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX and Tony Hawk's Underground. Nice. I don't think anybody. Oh, no, I think Underground is when it started going downhill. Some people played that one. And Pro BMX people definitely played that one, and Virus. Those are kind of the two. And I guess Sean Lennon actually makes an appearance in Memory Loss. I did not know that. That's actually news to me. Time Keep on Slipping. That's also a good track. A lot of good tracks in this. A couple of kind of ones that don't kind of fit in very well, but overall it's pretty good. Yeah. So I guess going on to movie reviews.
Movie and TV and other reviews, yeah. So I watched a TV show on Netflix, which I found out later was a spin-off of a CW show called Legacy. So Legacy is set in a universe where witches are real and magic and werewolves are real and vampires are real, but nobody thinks anything else is real. The main plot of the show is, yes, those things are all also real, and they were all shut down by a uber magic conspiracy.
Well, Larry, how could these things be real if our eyes aren't real?
Exactly. So This is part of what I call the vague young adult book genre of series and movies that they just do on Netflix. And it's like, it's white noise television to a certain respect. But there were certain things that stand out to me. Like they have a main character named Hope, who is a member of all three species. So she is the Mary Sue character. And the show just unironically has everybody pissed off at her being so great that everybody loves her and everybody gives attention to her. Like the show doesn't have her address it or respond to that. It's weird. The audience viewpoint character is a normal kid whose brother turns into a werewolf, and he tries to find his place in this new world. And it turns out he's connected to the ancient conspiracy that's responsible for all the events that are happening on in this season of the series. They also have a black kid who's an overly eager gay kid, but instead of him being gay, they just repaint that gay stuff with vampire. And all the vampires are also black and gay. It's kind of weird. So it's just a really weird thing that they have on Netflix. It's not a show I liked. It's a show I watched because it was fascinating. That they literally had a Mary Sue character as the protagonist, and nobody said anything. Nobody said anything as they were writing this show. A blatant Mary Sue, like her flaw, because the new thing for Mary Sue is they all have a flaw. Her flaw is how tragic it is that everybody she loves has died. That's her flaw.
That's not really like a flaw. She can
Well,
still do everything.
she feels really bad. All those people died. Okay, Jim.
But she can still do everything.
Yeah.
I mean, if I could do everything, I'd be like, well, I don't care if everybody died. I can do anything.
Yeah. So
Including
I did watch
saving all the people that I now love.
Yeah. Or playing Mario Maker 2.
Oh yeah, that's a thing. When is it coming out?
In a
7
week,
more
you
days.
said.
7 more days.
Now I did watch the first episode of Good Omens, which is based off of the Neil Gaiman, Terry Pratchett book series. This was a really good show, really good production values. It has David Tennant in it. It has good music, good budget, and it's just generally a fun thing to watch. There was recently a little bit of humor where there was a fan petition to get Netflix to shut the show off, but it's on Amazon. And so Amazon said, okay, tell you what, Netflix, you stop making this show, and we'll stop making Stranger Things. But yeah, so that's the gist of that. It's a good television show. I'll talk more about the rest of it. Somebody in the chat asked us to talk about Shaft, and I did let them know that Shaft is coming long and hard.
Yeah, Mr. Dapperton loves the Shaft. No homo, but he loves the Shaft.
And popping back to Netflix, I watched a little movie on Netflix called See You Yesterday, and it was kind of intriguing and weird. And they didn't really, in my personal opinion, think out their plot all that much, which is always a bad sign for a time travel movie, but it had enough like charming elements that I didn't mind that much.
I bet she's a nerd. I bet she's a nerd. Her shirt says nerdy things. I bet she's a nerd.
Yeah, but they never show her being a nerd.
Oh.
But they do show her loving the science. So it's about two kids who both happen to be from an Afro-Caribbean neighborhood. An Afro-Caribbean family is going to an elite science and tech school in a different part of New York, who invented a time machine system. And they were spending their summer vacation perfecting time travel. But hijinks occur because of the timely and topical issue of black people getting shot by the police, which is the major plot thing pushing forward all the time travel shenanigans. But they don't really focus on some of the important elements of the story that were there, like the main character has a horrendous temper problem, and her lack of emotional self-discipline leads to people around her dying, which leads to her using a time machine to going back to screwing things up more. The show wants you to have an open-ended ending of like, oh, she used the time machine to save people from the gun violence, but that's not the character they have in the show. The show's ending didn't really pay attention to what was going on with the characters. Um, it was fun and it was interesting. Also, they had several points where I kind of lost the script on the show. It's like, oh, they have a VR holographic system for designing their time machine because they're two broke high school kids doing doing computer repair out of the one kid's grandmother's garage. That's totally a thing that happens. Oh look, they're making positrons. They're just somehow doing that and creating a antimatter explosion because that's just a thing high school kids can do.
Of course.
But it was charming that they actually did a very good New York and a very good Afro-Caribbean community and family, and those character dynamics all worked. Just the time travel part of the story wasn't good, and it brought everything down.
You mean the whole central point of the show?
Well, the central point was about police shooting black people. That was the central point.
Oh.
Yeah. So we're now going to move on to something a little bit different. So Frank Miller, famous for a lot of insane things in comic books. And also
I thought that was saying Super Mario Maker, but then it said Superman. That was kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
Kind of let down.
So he's famous for a lot of things. The Dark Knight Returns series is one of them. And everybody thought he hated Superman because of the Dark Knight series. So DC came up with a special imprint of comic books, which became most famous for showing Batman's junk. Unfortunately, I was not able to get one of the now collectible copies with Batman's junk in it. So he decided he was going to make his own Superman comic. It got delayed, but the first of the 3-issue retelling of Superman's origin story came out. And it's kind of weird and disjointed. This may all make sense when we have all 3 of the books together, but it's kind of weird. So it has a narrator, but it's not always clear who the narrator is. It's usually Clark, which is weird because he's a baby, and then sometimes it's not. It does several things different than the normal Superman. So baby Clark Kent used psychic powers to make his dad want to adopt him as a baby. That's not weird and subversive and damaging to the fundamental principles of why the Kents mattered to Superman. They do an interesting thing where Superman manifests his heat vision because he's a baby and he can't talk yet, so he goes off with heat vision. Then it gets, it's kind of like just a whole bunch of little things like that until he goes to high school, where he makes friends with all of the losers and outcasts and weirdos, and he fights a bully with his held back Superman powers. A bully who the worst thing he did before Superman got involved was egg the weirdos. And after that, the bully was just started horrendously beating up other people. And so, should be a moment in this story where it's like, oh, I've learned a lesson. I can't just use force indiscriminately because I have the ability to do so, because that can sometimes cause other people to get hurt. But up until this point in time, things are fairly basic-y Superman, with him being like the weirdo kid friend, kind of like new and odd because he's also a football player. And then the bullies decide they want to rape his girlfriend. And that's a thing that almost happens, but luckily Superman comes in and beats them up and protects his girlfriend from being raped. And then the bullies never do anything else bad in the story again. And Superman goes to the rest of his high school. He struggles with trying to use his powers appropriately. His parents have money for him to go to college, but he decides instead of having his parents use that money on him, he's going to join the United States Navy. So for the first time ever in the comic series, Superman's going to be a soldier. And that's the start of something kind of weird and kind of disjointed, but might make sense in 2 more comic book issues. I kind of recommend it because I think it's going to go somewhere. Because I know in the next issue he officially becomes a Navy SEAL. But I'm not sure where it's going. It's kind of weird. Wasn't really edited. Basically, two legends in the comic book industry made this comic, and basically, I think they bullied any editor, saying, "Listen, everything you think of as good comic book taste, we created for you. So shut up, Sonny. And let me do with my job." But I do recommend it. I think it's a good comic. So before we give Dapperton the shaft, we're going to talk about a little movie called Anna. So he's going to have a hot blonde Russian before he gets the shaft, which I don't know if that's your fetish. It could be. So Anna is a spy movie, kind of in the spy thriller genre, but it does some weird things that hurt the movie. There's a lot of action that's very much like John Wick and La Femme Nikita and Leon and the other stuff in the director's body of work that's very good. The movie should have played more to that strength, but it doesn't. It's all about this Russian drug addict girl who becomes a supermodel and a spy. And you know how normally in a spy thriller, there's a point where you get the big reveal of what the long con was that's been running throughout the whole movie? They break that up into like 8 or 9 different parts in the movie. So you see something happen, then they flash back to show you the long con of the thing you just saw happen. So it kind of breaks it up so it's not an interesting build up to a point.
Are you saying it's kind of like Captain Marvel? Where it's like, oh,
No.
I already know it?
No, because this character has an arc in the movie.
Okay.
She has a goal she's trying to get to. She does things that are more like compromising to her to get to that goal, but she achieves that goal. And she has 2 men she loves in the movie, and she leaves them. They're both pissed at her, but she leaves them in a position where, like, I'm not hurting you, so you don't have to hurt me. And there's some weird stuff in it, like technology that doesn't make sense, or why are the Russians having an aggressive KGB at the tail end of the Gorbachev years. Those things you can let go because it's a spy thriller. You need Russians versus America.
Yeah. So maybe if they pushed back the date, it would make a little bit more sense.
Would have made a little bit more sense, but that doesn't matter as much as the whole. Here's the thing. Now we're going to show you the spy stuff related to that thing, as opposed to putting little tidbits and Easter eggs there, and then someone can go, wait a minute. And then when the payoff happens, it's more enjoyable. Because she's got a scheme, her boss in the KGB has a scheme, the American has a scheme. It's all about schemes within schemes. And they also have Matryoshka dolls as a key motif in the thing, and chess is a key motif. So that's how they should have played it. But it was a fun action movie. The actress was actually very good with the work she had to be given. She had a lesbian girlfriend in the movie for reasons, but they didn't actually do anything with that, which was kind of annoying. Other than to have her girlfriend get threatened at one point in the movie. But I had a good time and enjoyable, and now Jim's going to talk about The Shaft, which I'm going to be seeing on Sunday.
Yeah, and you should see it. It's fantastic. But before we get into Shaft, maybe we should talk about the giant elephant in the room, which is the Rotten Tomatoes score, which is sitting right now at 31% for critics. Mm. But interestingly, it's 94% for audience score. This is one of the biggest disparities I've ever seen on Rotten Tomatoes. Could it be the biggest? I think there's a good reason for that, especially when we get into some of the reviews for this. A lot of the reviews are accusing it of being sexist, racist, transphobic, homophobic, all of the new woke speak. They're basically getting accused of that. It's saying that it's outdated. Larry, a movie about John Shaft is outdated.
I know, right?
Who'da fucking thunk that a movie that's capitalizing on 70s blaxploitation films is outdated and is using racist, sexist, homophobic, and transgendered slurs for humor.
So does it use that humor to both highlight the current state of the world, but also showcase, why the original movies did those things?
Yes. But at the same time, it doesn't go like it. it's not saying like, hey, you should be more woke. It's showing these woke characters as a point of humor. Like kids these days in their 3,000 genders. Oh, like you want to tell me something that's worse than my 8-year-old daughter who wants to be named Frank? Ha ha ha! Joke. It was nice to see a movie that was had that kind of humor that didn't feel like, hey, we have to walk on eggshells because there's going to be people in the audience who are offended. No, because this is targeted to a demographic who has very conservative values, and that is the African American community. Believe it or not, they're not hip to your woke bullshit, guys. But anyways, and for some reason they keep referring to a lot of the characters in this movie as dinosaurs in these reviews. Is this a new thing? Am I missing out on this?
No.
This it has to be something new. So Shaft, I guess question mark stars Samuel L. Jackson. Not really. It actually was it Jesse T. Usher? Is that his name? Basically,
the young Shaft.
Yeah. The protagonist of this film is Shaft Jr., John Shaft Jr., who is raised by his mother, who after dealing with John Shaft's career in law enforcement, realizes that she's putting her and her son in danger, and basically takes the kids and leaves, much to Shaft's dismay. Shaft tries to be involved at least somehow by sending his son gifts over the years. Gifts that you should give a young kid like Magnum condoms, porno mags, that sort of thing.
I don't see what the problem is there.
Right, of course. But he stays out of this kid's life, and it's not because he wants to. It's because the mother is like, no, we need to keep your son safe, and so he basically does. But every year, he sends him some not very age appropriate or gifts, right? So he grows up and becomes very smart. Goes to MIT and becomes a data analyst. There we go, analyst for the FBI. And there's this case going on where they're trying to investigate a local mosque who they think is running guns or whatever. Meanwhile, his friend goes from school. They kind of like there's like three of them. There's a girl who he has a romantic, well, not romantic, but a crush on. I guess that's the right term for it. Yeah. And a Middle Eastern guy who goes off and joins the army, deals with some post-traumatic stress disorder that leads him to having a drug addiction, which he overcomes. And he works for an organization called Brothers Watching Brothers, which everybody in the film constantly points out that is a horrible name for an organization for straight males trying to get over drugs. It more sounds like a name for a bathhouse. Yeah. And this is kind of one of the jokes in the film is, that's a terrible name. It sounds gay. And in the process of tracking it down, he goes like, look, I can't do this with the FBI. I'm just going to get in trouble. Maybe I should find my dad. Maybe he'll help me track down what's going on. So he goes and finds Shaft, who is now a private investigator after quitting the police force, to track down who's doing this. Without getting into any spoilers, lots of mayhem ensues. And he at the same time, Shaft is realizing that, oh no, my son's a woke metrosexual. Let's break him out of this. And he's also teaching him how to hook up with girls and how to hook up with this crush, and telling women who meet him, hey, baby, can you break me off a piece? And it's great. And then at the climax of the scene, we actually get a bit of the original Shaft, played by Richard Roundtree, who shows up as the grandpa figure who helps helps at the final boss battle. But mostly this is all kind of tying back to a foe that John Shaft had at the very beginning, which the name escapes me. I'm gonna look it up real quick. Gordito, who was a drug smuggler, and it all kind of ties back to them at the end, which it is obvious because they spoil it in the very first act of the film, which is fine, because this is not supposed to be an intricate story. This is supposed to be like, hey, let's have fun watching Shaft.
We have Samuel Jackson,
being Shaft, asking women to break him off a piece, teaching his woke son to be unwoke, and to just be a badass and walk across the street without looking to see if cars are coming. And the movie is fantastic. The humor lands every single time. The action is fun and engaging, even though it really wasn't a giant spectacle like Men in Black was. It delivered on entertainment rather than CGI nonsense. It actually was the budget? It was $30 million. That's not too bad. The box office is not doing too well, and I think that's criminal. I think the marketing department is trying to put this on the back burner because they know it's going to get them in a lot of trouble with woke circles, which it has anyway. So they've been kind of downplaying it, but audiences that gone and seen it are overwhelmingly enjoying this film. I as well. I was really amazed. I had very low expectations, but a little person, perhaps you may have heard of him, no big name, by the name of Mr. Dapperton, told me that no, you need to go see this, and I was like, all right, maybe. And then another person you may have heard of, not too big, by the name of Ethan Van Sciver, was saying, no, this movie is great. You need to go and see it. And I was like, well, these are two very important people who are who I trust their judgment.
These were both reputable recommendations.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to see it. Like, I saw the things for it. I was thinking, yeah, I'm going to see it eventually. But I was like, but I'll definitely see it this Sunday, probably.
So the big question that was gnawing on me this whole time is, do I really want to see another Shaft movie? And my initial answer was no. But everybody told me, no, Jim, you didn't know you wanted another Shaft movie, but you did. You didn't notice it, but your brain did. And Mr. Dapperton did. And Ethan Van Sciver did. So I went and saw it, and boy, was I happy. This is actually going on my top 10 list. I don't know. Right now it's in my top 5. I don't know if it's going to stay that way looking at some of the stuff that's coming out this year.
At the end
it's
of
definitely
the year,
probably going to stay in my top 10 for sure.
At the end of the year, we're gonna have we're gonna talk like a little bit of a mid-year review on like movies. We're gonna throw that in as a bit for the next show.
Mm-hmm.
So we got some interesting things on the bat for this week.
Yeah, I'm gonna go see a Child's Play maybe tonight. No, I'm probably gonna wait. I'll probably wait until Sunday to see that because I'm expecting crowds are gonna be a little bit obnoxious, and I don't like crowds.
Yeah. We got the new Child's Play movie. Mm-hmm. We got Toy Story 4. I'm probably going to see that.
Yep.
We got Shaft, which I'm going to see, so I'll talk a little bit about Shaft. We got
Let me log in my AMC.
Which is the Late Night, which is the new movie by the Indian girl who they keep putting into things.
And Yesterday is also coming out.
Yesterday will be something we'll see like going into the next movie weekend. So I'm definitely planning to see Yesterday just because it just sounds fun. Sounds like a fun, enjoyable movie.
Mm-hmm. What is coming soon? Here we are. Struber. That looks interesting. Of course, Spider-Man. Spooderman comes out July 2nd. Yesterday. And Yesterday comes out
it's going to be next weekend.
Which that's going to be a really tough one because I have to do a show and I have to play a little game. Perhaps you may have heard of it called Mario Maker 2. Because that comes out the same day as Yesterday, which is coming out next week, and not yesterday, which I wish was the day that Mario Maker came out, because then I would have played it yesterday and a little bit today, but it didn't.
And the weekend after Spider-Man, they have that ridiculous alligator movie.
Crawl, yeah. I'm seeing it.
Yeah, I'm not going to see that, but it's just ridiculous. Yeah. It is an utterly ridiculous movie.
And the movie I'm really looking forward to coming out is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That's what I'm really looking at. Really looking forward to that one. Hobbs and Shaw, not so much. I'll let you watch that and tell me.
I plan to watch that one because that looks fun.
It looks ridiculous.
Well, yeah, but I mean, all the
on purpose. Yeah,
movies are ridiculous.
It looks ridiculous on purpose.
So here's a big question. Are you interested in seeing the Lion King live action remake?
I'm going to have to see it, but no. I'm going to have to see it, but no. Because Lion King was probably my second favorite of the Renaissance Disney films.
Yeah, like literally the reason I haven't seen the Aladdin movies, you told me it wasn't.
It's not good. It's not. It's no. I will say that it's good. It's just not good enough for me to tell you to go see it in theaters. Wait till it comes out in the public library. You know, the library with pirates and
Where they
peg legs. And all of them. All the librarians seem to have parrots on their shoulder.
Yeah. So, this was a shorter show, but it was good. We had a lot of good poppy stuff. I have to see if I could find another little bit of intersection of our normal genre of topic and music history, because that was fun.
Yeah.
Talking about disco. and just think, disco, everybody thought it was dead, but it came back just like a sexually transmitted disease that you got at a discotheque.
Yeah. Something that John Shaft might have caught a few times.
Yes, that is one of the jokes referenced in the trailer.
Yeah. Chlamydia and syphilis. Which, by the way,
So,
chlamydia and syphilis, call me.
So that's another recording in progress in the can.
Yep, hail worms.
Hail worms.